Alright everybody, here's our out-of-theater reaction for Oppenheimer. We did see the 70mm film version. And right off the top, I guess we'll just start there. It's beautiful. It just is. There's the details of faces, the landscape shots in New Mexico. I mean, it's picture quality that digital just cannot create. I will say, unfortunately, and this is just part of seeing a movie on film, our reel was damaged about left center screen. There was a streak that was pretty noticeable pretty much the whole time. After about 30 minutes, I got used to it. This is part of the game. I mean, the picture itself, though, other than that, was just super crisp. I actually made another video yesterday talking about the different projection options from this movie. So 70mm film is comparable to 12K, and you see it on screen. There also is a little bit of flicker, especially when the background's white. Didn't bother me any because my brain knows I'm watching this on film. That is part of the process of film getting shown through light and a projector, is you're going to see that. So if you're a movie, kind of a movie nerd, if you have the option to see the film version in your area, I definitely still do it. If you're someone that doesn't go to the movies all that often and you just want to be part of the hype for this one, honestly, I might say you should probably just go see this in digital IMAX. And if you don't want your ears to be blown out in a couple times, maybe just see a regular digital showing. That would be my advice on that. How about you? How was the film experience for you as someone that hasn't seen a movie on film since you were a little girl?
I mean, I like that reminiscent vibe that film can kind of stir up, so I appreciated that. I have always argued with Andy that I sometimes don't love 4K HD because I like to see the grainy quality of like 90s film. Think of like 90s rom-coms. That's my jam. And so
she likes that 480 DVD cheese. Just to be clear, this is a sharp, beautiful picture, but there's imperfections in it because it's a film reel. So it kind of fits a movie that takes place in the 40s because it looks a little older. Like if you have ever dabbled in some Instagram filters. You don't need to talk really loud, by the way. I'm just getting excited. If you have ever dabbled in some Instagram filters that are like the flickery film and just love that vintage quality, this has, I mean, the 70mm kind of delivered on that. So cool. Good vibes. Story-wise, this is the definition of a Christopher Nolan script. There are 3 different time periods going on at once. He goes back and forth between all 3 with no explanation. It takes about 45 minutes to get a feel of what's happening when. And why the man is obsessed with that, I don't know. But at this point, it just is what it is. And once you piece it together, it's almost like he wants the audience to put in the work to understand his movies. And then once you understand what's going on, it's like, oh, I earned it. How do you feel about all that? I mean, you're supposed to feel the stress of going back and forth. I think that's in my opinion. That's what I've always gotten from his movies, and I don't know. I kind of like that mental challenge. I think when you walk into a Christopher Nolan movie, you are gonna work that day, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's kind of fun to challenge yourself in that aspect. Other Nolan staples, the score pretty much plays the entire 3 hours. This is a 3-hour movie of nothing but non-stop dialogue scenes. But it wasn't distracting. I want to emphasize that. The score was not distracting. It wasn't like Dunkirk, where you literally couldn't hear what the pilots were saying because of the score and the tick, 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 tick. But it played the whole time, and the whole movie is just dialogue scenes, and it plays the entire time. It sets a scene, it sets the mood, and I think it's very accurately done. And fun fact, big reason why Nolan actually has so much music in his movies is because he shoots on IMAX film, and IMAX cameras are actually very loud when you're using them. So because of that, he plays a lot of music over the heavy dialogue scenes so that you don't hear the click of the camera in the background. Sorry, I did that because your hand was like right there, like right near my face. Okay, we'll cut that. Where do we go from there? Rude! First scenes of the movie, you are wondering
why an older Oppenheimer is coming into your viewpoint. Why is there this stress at this table full of guys who are questioning him, all right? And you're getting to understand that this is after the Manhattan Project. This is after Los Alamos, after the bombs have exploded over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so you're basically getting walked back in very different points of time. As Andy was saying, Christopher Nolan's gonna drop you in random parts of the timeline, and along the way it's gonna make sense, but you are piecing things together. I'm gonna let Andrew take over from here.
Well, yeah, so in that vein, Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr., they look visibly different in all three timelines. They look younger, visibly younger and older, and it just made me think like they had to have shot this film over the course of a year at least, because they would have had to shoot each part of the movie with that hairstyle, with those face wrinkles, etc.
Hollywood magic can make a lot of things happen, though.
Yeah.
So Christopher Nolan, as he's plopping you on these different points in the Oppenheimer timeline, I would say that the earliest point he's going to drop you in is Oppenheimer's schooling. So how is he getting to be this really well-known scientist, the man that he is on the journey to greatness?
They don't really explain anything, though. It's 45 minutes of meeting like 25 characters, and it's like, this is this scientist, this is this scientist, he's from this country, he's from this country, and the next thing you know, they got to build their team to go to New Mexico.
But
that's literally the first hour.
Shut up!
That's literally the first hour of the movie.
One of those people that he's gonna meet is Heisenberg, and Heisenberg is gonna play a role for the Germans. So when we get to that World War II part, you realize that Oppenheimer has crossed paths. This scientific community, it's so interlinked. He has come across the paths of so many minds. Their ideas have influenced him, and that played for me in, okay, how many people have gone into the mind of Oppenheimer, and how are his thoughts really developing? How is he building off of these different characters that we've met in the story?
They honestly portray it as the scientists are like all free agents, and the countries are just picking which ones they can get. Like, the scientists are a part of a community that don't really have allegiances to countries, and then once the war starts, they're like, can we get this guy? Can we get this guy? Oh no, he's with the Germans already. Oh, that guy's stuck in Denmark. It's very interesting. It's like an hour of introducing a million characters and trying to get a team together. I'd say about an hour, 15 minutes in New Mexico, and then 45 minutes of a very unexpected, I didn't expect the end of the movie, to the final act, to be that long. But it's all what happened to Oppenheimer after the war, after the bomb, and how Robert Downey Jr.'s character, the big part he plays. So it's a long movie. We're both exhausted.
I told you, I love the thrill of the. It's a great challenge. It's a great challenge, and just Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Yeah, fantastic.
He's gonna win Oscar. He's gonna win.
I was like, Cillian Murphy, also amazing, but Robert Downey Jr., I think that was the best I've seen him. I kept on thinking, I was like, what kind of compares to a really good Robert Downey Jr. Performance? And I was a sucker for Sherlock Holmes. Those movies, he was fantastic in my opinion. I'm not a huge film critic like my husband, but
I'm not really a film critic. I'm a film ranter.
Is that what we're doing? We're ranting?
No, because it was a good movie. See, I think Downey is pretty much a shoe-in for Best Supporting Actor. Murphy, a lot of people are saying, I think he has a chance, but I don't think it's automatic. I mean, he was very good, but the man's in 2 hours and 55 minutes of the movie. I mean, he definitely earned his paycheck, whatever it was.
His beautiful blue eyes kind of stole the show at certain moments. I don't know if that was also...
His eyes were so blue that they were still blue in the black and white scenes. Not really. He was in a few of the black and white scenes. Yeah. Yes. Because the black and white scenes are from Strauss's perspective. Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. plays Strauss.
So I'll say that my biggest critique is the introduction of so many characters, and they never really tell you who's gonna matter. It's like you'll meet someone for 10 seconds, and then their face gets thrown on screen 2 hours later, and you're doing mental gymnastics to remember who they were in the first place. So this is definitely a movie. At first, at the very end, I was like, I don't know if I'd watch that again because it was so good, but also there's like no happy moments. It's a deep dive history movie. Like, you might want to brush up on your World War II history before stepping into this.
Or if you just want to be super surprised by the whole timeline of things, by the whole of everything playing out, that'll kind of keep you on your toes. If you want to be surprised, boom. I mean, we work with history constantly, but this is not our wheelhouse, so I think it was still plenty of shockers for me along the way. Just to,
Oh, for sure. I didn't know about any of this.
Especially when you're looking at history through this very personal lens. And yes, we don't know the exact thoughts that were going through his mind, but you can only imagine the psychological trauma that kind of comes with working on the Manhattan Project. And this made that very, very clear to viewers that there's some impact that's gonna definitely linger.
Despite taking place in the 1940s, this movie was very timely. The politics of what happens to people once they make their contributions to their country, and
basically once you start,
the government decides they're done with you. Very timely to things that still happen now, and I have no doubt that this movie is very historically accurate. So I think the last thing we'll talk about is how many famous people are in this movie.
Josh Peck.
They pop up
Drake
nonstop.
And Josh.
Not
Drake.
Casey Affleck pops up for one scene, 2 scenes technically. Remy Malek is in maybe a minute of the movie, and then at the very end he like drops the hammer. Just non-stop, I was like, recognize that person. There's a bunch of people from the Nolan Batman movies, like, you're gonna recognize. You're not gonna know a lot of names, but you're gonna be like, seen him before. It's very Tarantino-esque in that. Were the sex scenes necessary? Because I'm pretty sure the only reason why this movie's rated R is because of the sex scenes.
Not really.
It wasn't out of place, but it also wasn't necessary. Like, they could have gotten the point across without it.
I mean,
and probably could have made more money if this was rated PG-13.
It adds to the character depth of Oppenheimer. That's maybe the only thing I would say, is that it makes you think about how complex of a man he was. He was not, like, he was certainly morally gray. I read many books where the male main character is morally gray, but
from a film perspective, I thought it worked. But just talking about, you gotta think about that box office too. I feel like this movie might make more money for its PG-13. By the way, this is Sunday, so the movie's been out since Thursday night. Theater was absolutely packed. There were a whole row of people in the blast zone front center. Absolutely, the theater was packed. Like, Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Mission Impossible second weekend are all cleaning up right now. So the dead summer box office that was June is now alive and well. You got that grade? Guess first.
Wait, is it a scale of 1 to 10, or is
No,
it...
I do F- to A+.
I guess I will give it a B+.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't like giving 2 ratings. But for this one, I feel like it's necessary. From a technological film experience, it's an A+. It's beautiful, it's powerful, the score. You come out of this movie feeling like you experienced something. You didn't watch something, you experienced it. It was like a ride. As a movie, plot, acting, story, script, I actually agree. I think it was also a B+. Yeah. I think for me, I'm just going back to his last history movie. This movie is way better than Tenet. I think I might have liked Dunkirk more.
Oh, I like this movie more.
Okay, there you go.
I like the focusing in on one particular person, and I think you got to see him through many angles.
It's definitely way different than Dunkirk. I mean, the only similarity is World War II.
Dunkirk drove me nuts with that tick.
There's more dialogue in the first 10 minutes of this movie than probably the entire Dunkirk film.
And I like a movie with dialogue. So if you like a movie with dialogue, if you like trying to get to know your cast of characters, or at least the main ones, you're gonna feel those emotions.
So there we go. Per usual, all practical effects. The movie's beautiful.
Yeah.
So hope you guys enjoy as much as we did, and we'll go ahead and sign off.
I recommend it.